Hi guys, my name is David and welcome back to my channel. Today, I wasn't even going to film this video, I was just going to include this book in my wrap up. But I thought, okay, I'll make an effort, primarily for two booktubers. The first person being the person who introduced me to this series, which you can tell by the title, it's the Flowers of Evil. That person was Nymheria, or Nim, as last year she introduced me to this whole manga series and I read the first book, really enjoyed it. I did a whole video on it. I will have it linked down below in case you want to watch it. It was a while ago, so I will have it linked down below so you don't have to search it in my channel. But I remember really loving this book. It's not horror, it's advertised more of a coming of age story, but in my mind it is and it isn't. I know that there is 4 books in this whole series. Well, we're in the complete collections anyway. I've got 2 and 3 and I still need to get number 4. So just a recap of what happened in book 1, all spoiler free. We follow our main character called Sasaki, who is a young boy, and he really isn't. I mean, he's kind of like a loner. He tries to be a know-it-all. He carries around a book with him called The Flowers of Evil by Charles Baudelaire, which is a actual real-life poetry book by a French author, and that comes to the second channel that I'm doing this video for, and that is Bookbound Weirdo. And she has done several readings from Baudelaire, and she lives in in Paris or France or whatever. So I thought, okay, I'll make the effort for her as well. Kasuga has an obsession with a girl in his class. He's at that age in his life where he started to notice girls, not really sexually. I mean, he does notice that they have features, like breasts and legs and asses, but he's more noticing girls. Oh, I mean, that girl looks attractive. I've never looked at that girl in that way. I've never noticed that person before. And there's a girl in his class called Saiki who he is infatuated by. He sees her as a goddess, his muse, and he wants to ask her out, but he's too shy to do so. He sets her up as being like this, on a high pedestal, and he says to himself, or he convinces himself rather, that she won't find any interest in him. And then he makes a kind of a bad decision about nicking some of her clothing. And that takes us to our third character called Nakamoto. She is another female in the classroom, and when she finds out what he's done, she makes him do all these embarrassing things and basically drives him mad. This book gave me so many emotions. It took me on a wild ride, and yeah, it was something. So a while ago I was on eBay and I found books 2 and 3, both in separate lots or whatever, on eBay, but from the same seller. So I give the seller a bid of £10 each per book, which I thought was a really good deal, and I got books 2 and 3. So I read this in about 2 or 3 days, really quick read despite its length. And let me just show you some of the artwork as well. Because this is a manga, you do have to read it essentially backwards, but when you've done it once, then you get used to it. You know how to read all the speech bubbles and what order to do all the panels in, so you get used to it. But the art style in this is really good. It's familiar from book 1. So this one follows up directly from book one. So this isn't a standalone, this is a direct continuation from book one. So we follow Kasuga, who has kind of been down because at the end of book one, all spoiler free, Kasuga and Nakamoto were trying to get to a kind of a fictional place called the Other Side, but that didn't seem to end up happening for reasons I won't tell you. But this book carries on from he's kind of feeling bad that Nakamoto and him didn't go to the other side, whatever this place may be. I'm not sure if it's a real place or if it's a fictional place, but he feels really bad about it. And Kasuga and Nakamoto and Saiki are all trying to figure out where they stand in their relationship with each other. And Kasuga is trying his best to make up for what happened at the end of book one to Nakamoto and try to get both of them to this other side. He isn't as emotionally distressed as he was in book one. Nakamoto is very unpredictable. She can be very, very quiet and subdued 1 minute, and then the next moment she's very violent and volatile. She's very, very aggressive, and she can hit and not really kill anybody, but she is very violent and very unpredictable, and that's what I love about her character. I've actually read 2 books in this series, and I'm still at a loss about what I make of her. As the story progresses, Kasuga and Nakamoto spend pretty much all their time with each other because Kasuga wants to make up to Nakamoto. He finds himself being attracted to Nakamoto, and his obsession and love interest has gone from Saiki to Nakamoto. But she doesn't really seem to reciprocate them feelings. Well, sort of anyway. It's really hard to describe. And as I'm reading this, I'm thinking, is this what love is? And, love is difficult, love is hard, but we do crazy things for love. And I'm thinking, does she love Kasuga? But I think she does in her own way. But it's not all like lovey-dovey stuff. In the meantime, Saiki knows that Kasuga had a infatuation and he loved her. But she's trying to pick up the pieces of what happened at the end of book one and the resolution to that story, in that book rather. She still finds herself having really strong feelings for Kasuga. And there's this girl called Al. I'm not sure how you say it, A-L. But she is a very close friend to Saiki. But she is very, very angry. She has a anger problem. She's always angry and shouting at Kasuga and blaming him for what is happening to Saiki and how she's feeling and how she's coping. She's a very, very good friend, but she's very, very angry as a person. She's not really much of a main character, she's more of a side character. But as the story goes on, Saiki knows or finds out that Kasuga has a kind of a crush. Well, not really a crush. He is in love with Nakamoto. But because her feelings for him are still there and very still strong, she doesn't take this very well. And as a result, she looks at Nakamoto and says, right, this is the kind of girl that Kasuga likes and wants and desires and needs. And I, myself, have to mold myself to this girl and look like her as much as possible and act like her as much as possible. And this results in her changing obviously her appearance. And I don't want to say too much. She confronts him with her new appearance, and there's no easy way of saying this, guys. She like forces herself onto Kazuka in a sexual way, and there is a scene in this, not explicit, but it's something that you don't want to really read on public transport or in a public setting. But there is a series of several pages where they are having sexual intercourse with each other. As I said, there is no very explicit, parts or anything like that, but it is enough to get the point across. When this happens, you would think that Kasuga would be over the moon. He's got the girl of his dreams, he's got his muse, he's got the girl that he always wanted to have and desired and needed. But something has changed within himself. He has, as I said, he has found himself more attracted to Nakamoto than Saiki. And this confuses him a lot, well, sort of anyway. Because, this is an important part of life as well. We are attracted to certain individuals, and then as time goes on, our feelings and the way that we look at that person change, and we go to someone else. So Saiki is very upset about the outcome of what she's done for Kasuga and how she expressed her love and her feelings towards him. And this doesn't go well. I won't say what happens or what she does, but she does try to destroy what Kasuga and Nakamoto have, and trying to prevent them going to this so-called other side, whatever that may be. And the book kind of ends, as I said, I won't spoil what happens at the end, but it does end on the cliffhanger. So if you do go and read book 2, my advice is to get the rest of the series, because trust me, at the end of book 2, you will want to go on to book 3. It's been really hard for me not to go on to book 3, but I wanted to do a video on book 2 before I go into book 3. But it does involve Kasuga and Nakamoto forming a new plan about how to get to this other side, or this so-called other side, which it's very hard. It's never really fully explained about what it actually is. As far as I can understand it, it is a place, whether it's real or fictional, that is perfect. All the people in it are perfect, and it's just a nice place. But as I said, it's never really fully explained about what it actually is. Also, events in book 1 are brought up in book 2. There are consequences of what happened in book 2, not just for Kasuga and Nakamoto, but also for Saiki as well. And that's something I really liked, something that I felt that wasn't swept underneath the rug and forgotten about. Because this is also set in a school, there are obviously other school pupils around and students around, friends of Kasuga and Saiki. Nakamoto really doesn't have any friends, but there are a bunch of students in this book as well that set the scene. This book, even though it was really, really good, and it did fill me with loads of emotions, and it took me on a wild ride, it wasn't as such a wild ride as book 1 was. This was freaking incredible. But book 2 was also really good, don't get me wrong, but it kind of knew when to like draw itself back. It knew when to hold back, and it explored the relationship between these characters and what they're going through emotionally. And it was such a good book. It really was. When Nim recommended me this series last year, I think it was. I never knew that I would like this book as much as I did, or this series as much as I did. When I got book one, I thought, okay, I'll read it, and if I don't like it, then I can always, pass it on and give it to someone else. And I wasn't really anticipating to like it as much as I did, because I'm more of a somebody that likes to read horror mangas, and it's the first thing from horror, even though it is horrific about what happens to these kids, because they are kids. They are, well, probably like teenagers. It's never really discussed about what age they are. So I really liked this book. I really, really did. It was a absolute pleasure to read this, and I cannot wait to read book 3. I am about to order book 4, which is the last book in the series. And hopefully you enjoyed this whole video. As I said, I wasn't really anticipating to make this. I only made this because of Nim and Bookbound Weirdo. Yeah, I mean, I will be making videos on books 3 and 4, because I've done a video on book 1 and obviously a video on book 2. So I might as well do a video on book 3 and 4 as well. When it comes to what I'm going to rate this, it's very difficult. I mean, I would love to give it a 5 stars, but I want to give it, I'm not sure whether it's a 4 or 5. Do you know what? I'm going to give it a 5 stars. This was a absolutely great book. And if you aren't really sure whether manga is your type of thing, because I know that sometimes people think that mangas are like over the top and emotional, people screaming and always being happy and all that stuff. I mean, not all mangas are the same, but if you're wondering whether mangas are your type of thing or not, I mean, pick up Flowers of Evil. Find it relatively cheap and at a good price, and just give it a go. Just give it a go. This was a big surprise. So let me know if you have read the Flowers of Evil, either the poetry collection or the manga, and what did you think about them? And have I maybe encouraged you and inspired you to pick this series up and give it a try? And yeah, if you have read it, let's talk about it down below in the comments. And yeah, I think that's all I really have to say, guys. So with all that out the way, I'll see you in my next video.